Hi friends, let's start with next topic of first unit, which is a database system structure. Under this topic, we are going to overlook the entire architecture or structure of DBMS. Okay, what are the different components are responsible of maintaining the overall structure of DBMS. The entire structure of DBMS is uh, categorized into four different groups. The first group, which is the database users and interfaces, and these group contains four different entities which are trying to interact or interface with that particular database applications. To which are these four entities? The first one, which is the database administrator, in short, which is also called as DBA. The second one, which is the application programmer. The third one, which is the sophisticated user, means specialized users. And the fourth one, which is the naive users. And naive users means they are novice users, means they are not that much of skilled. The second category from that database system structure, which is the query processor. Categories means these are the modules of that particular, means that entire database system structure we are means going to divide into four different modules. Okay, the first module, which is database users and interface. The second module, which is query processor. And these module contains again four different entities or components. huh? So which are these? The first one, which is the DML compiler and organizer. The second one, which is the compiler and linker. The third one, which is the DDL interpreter. And the fourth one, which is the query evaluation engine. The third module from that overall structure of that particular DBMS, which is the storage manager. And that storage manager again contains different components such as authorization and integrity manager, uh, transaction manager, third one file manager, and the fourth one buffer manager. And the fourth module of that database system structure, which is the disk storage. And this module contains the data files. Okay, and data files are used to store database itself. And the second module, which is the data dictionary. And the third module, which is indices. Okay, and the fourth module, which is the statistical data. Means at the time of learning that particular overall DBMS structure, we need to address all these four modules. Okay, means that entire structure of DBMS, which is going to classified into these four different modules. Okay, so I'm going to uh, just show you that database systems structure. Okay, this one means that upper portion, which is the first module of that particular your database system structure, which is the database user and interfaces. Means these are the variety of users. Means here four different users are trying to interact with that particular database systems, or going to avail these services or facilities from that database systems. Okay, the first one, which is the database administrator, which uses the different administration tools, because the DBA is the person who is having central control over to that particular DBMS system, which is also called as owner of that particular database. Means this is the first component which is interacted with that particular system. The second one, which is the sophisticated users, means specialized users, they are having specialized skills. Okay, which is also called as analysts. They are using specialized query tools to interact with these database systems. The third component, which is the application programmers. And application programmers are going to write a permanent application programs with concerns to interact or to interface with that particular DBMS systems. Okay. And the fourth component of that first module, which is the naive users, means no wise users. They are not having that much of skills, and they are using some of the automated teller machines, some of the agents, some of the web users, okay, are the example of this. And they are uses ready-made application interface to interact with that particular uh, DBMS system. Understood now? This is the first module, uh, database users and interfaces from that database system structure. Okay. The second module, which is the query processors. Okay. Have you seen na, these things? Okay. Query processors. And query processors, which is again having the different components, just like compiler and linker, uh, that DML queries, DDL interpreter, DML compiler and organizer, query evaluation engine, and application programming object code. Okay. And that particular DML compiler and organizer, okay, this component actually translates your DML queries, means DML statements, DML queries written with the help of DML, different DML statements. Okay. And these component DML compiler and organizer, which is going to translate DML statement into low level instructions of query evaluation engine understandable query language. Okay. And this helps in query processing to that particular users. Okay. Means these compiler and organizers translates these DML queries to query evaluation engine understandable query language. Okay. The next component, which is the compiler and linker. Okay. And these compiler and linker, which is once again converts that DML statements embedded in an application program to normal procedure calls in the host language. And the pre-compiler must interact with the query processor in order to generate that appropriate code. Okay. Compiler and linker, just like in your programming language also, that component is present, compiler and linker, means at the time of executing the code written in C or CPP, you are trying to compile that program. Same thing is happen over there. Okay. Compiler and linker, because the application programs are written already and all these things need to compile and link, okay, over there. And the next, which is the DDL interpreter. And this DDL interpreter, which is converts the DDL statements to a set of tables containing metadata or data about data. Okay. Means the DDL interpreter, the database administrator, with the help of administration tools, uh, executes the different DML statements over there. And for that purpose, DDL interpreter is responsible to converting that DDL statements, okay, into set of tables, objects, okay, which contains metadata or data about data. Okay. And the last one, which is the query evaluation engine. And query evaluation engine, which is helpful to execute low level instructions generated by DML compiler. Okay. Means all the instructions executed by DML compiler are going to be executed by query evaluation engine. Okay. This is the second modules. These are the components, okay, belongs in second module, which is the query processor. Let's move on towards the third module of database system structure, which is the storage manager. Okay. And this module again contains the different components. Okay, the first one, suppose authorization and integrity manager. Okay, and authorization and integrity manager, uh, which helps in applying different integrity constraints. Okay, and enforcing the different standards and checks the authentication of the user. Okay, that's why it's name itself authorization and integrity manager, means to check the authentication of users and as well as to enforcing the different integrity constraints with concerns to database. Okay, the next component from storage manager, which is the transaction manager. Okay, and that particular transaction manager, which is uh, the transaction manager which gives the insurance about consistency of that particular database itself, and which is also keep track of all the ongoing transaction. Okay, major role performed by that particular uh, transaction manager under that particular third module of database system structure. Okay, which is to keep track of all the ongoing transactions with respect to that DBMS systems, as well as ensure the consistency of database. Okay, the third component, okay, from this module, which is the file manager. And file manager, which is helpful to manage the allocation of space on a disk storage and the structures used to represent information stored on a disk. Okay, file manager means with respect to managing the data and all these things, that file manager is responsible for to allocate the space on that actual disk storage and the to represent the structure used to represent information on the disk. Okay, and the fourth component from this module, which is the buffer manager. And buffer manager, which is responsible for temporary storage management. Okay, means temporary files for computation purpose you are storing over there. Okay, just like in programming, also programming language also, you are declaring some of the temporary space, buffer space, temporary variable. Such a thing is also possible in DBMS, means buffer space. Okay, temporary space is also available. Okay, understood. This is the third module of your DBMS structure, storage manager. Okay, and let's move on towards the fourth module of database system structure, which is actual disk storage. And these module contains again four different components. Okay, the first, which is the data files, and these data file which is helpful to store the database itself. Okay, which is for what purpose this component is used. This component is going to be used to store database itself and take care of that database. Okay, the next component, which is the indices. And indices mean just like indexes. Index you are creating na, for efficient searching of some things. Okay, means these indices provides for fast access to data items holding particular values. Okay, for efficiently accessing the particular data values or particular items. Okay, this component is responsible, indices. Okay, and the third one, which is the data dictionary, and this component is also called as the metadata. Metadata means data about data itself. Okay, means which manages the information about that particular data, means which type of data is these, what is the exact locations of that data storage, what are the different constraints applicable on these data, means all the information associated with respect to data is going to be managed using this data dictionary. And the fourth component from disk storage, which is statistical data. And statistical data means this component is keep record of some of the statistics, the mathematical values associated with that particular data, means dynamic information associated with that particular data. Okay, understood? In this way, okay, the entire database system structure, which is the combination of four different modules. The first module, which is the database user and interface, the second module, which is the query processor, the third module, which is the storage manager, and the fourth module, which is the disk storage. And every module uh, having its own components, and they are responsible uh, to carry out the task associated with that particular database management. Okay, understood?